Alright, we're going to talk about making some charts in Microsoft Excel 2013. Before creating a chart, you need to plan and determine the message you're trying to convey. A chart is used to clearly identify and accentuate a relationship between data. Once you've identified your purpose, you'll need to determine the appropriate chart type. Planning a chart includes determining your purpose of your chart, what you're trying to convey, identifying the relationships that you want to communicate, determining the results that you want people to see, and then deciding what type of a chart is most appropriate. In Excel, you can make several different kinds of charts. One of the most common chart types is a column chart, and that's actually the default set for Excel. You can also create a line chart, which is best used to compare trends over time. A pie chart, which is best to compare sections of a whole. They're typically used for a single series of numbers, unlike the line chart or the column chart, which can be used for multiple series of numbers. Bar charts can compare the data using horizontal bars. Area charts are great to display volume changes over time in relation to the total volume of the series. And then finally, the scatter charts can compare trends over time, and they are good for identifying scientific trends. This picture shows some of the different chart elements. You can see I'm going to start on the top of the left side. You have your tick marks, which are the scale of measure on the y-axis, which is your vertical, which means up and down scale. The vertical axis is also known as the y-axis. The data markers are the visual representation of your selected data, and at the bottom you have the horizontal axis, which is also known as the x-axis. You may also sometimes hear this axis referred to as the category axis because it also contains the name of the different data groups. So you want to make sure you're aware of that vocabulary while you're working through this section in the book. You guys are also familiar with a legend, I'm sure. It's over in on the right side there, the quarter 1, quarter 2, 3, and 4. A legend just helps the audience to identify each data series. And the plot area is the area inside of the horizontal and vertical axis. It is the gray area shown here. And then finally, the grid lines that run horizontally across the plot area. It isn't displayed on this chart, but you should also know that on a 3D chart, you're going to have an additional axis that's known as the x-axis. When you create a chart, you have chart sizing handles, which are right here. And these are going to be displayed only when the chart is selected. You can use these handles to resize the chart. And I should also let you know that a chart is an independent object, which just means that when you move or resize the chart as such, the data and formulas in the series are not affected. The chart is always reflective of the data in your sheet as long as you link them together in the correct way, which means when you change the data in your sheet, it should automatically update your chart. When you create a chart, you can either embed the chart like this one, or you can create a chart sheet, which results in a workbook that only contains this chart. If your chart is already created, all you have to do is right-click on the chart, select Move Chart, and then click New Sheet, like this. You can then name this sheet whatever you like. This sheet is called Chart Sheet. You can also click on the Move Chart button on the Design tab under Chart Tools. When you're designing your chart, there are some features that I think you should be aware of. First, a chart is linked to the data series that you used to create it, like I discussed earlier. So I just want to reiterate that when you change the data on your sheet, it's going to change the data in your chart. So it just automatically updates. Up at the top here, you can use the Chart Tools tab to make some specific changes to a chart. First, you can change the chart type by clicking on the design and selecting chart type found here. It will pull up a dialog box giving you the chart choices to choose from. From the Design tab, you can also modify the data range and configuration. Both of these are going to be found in the Data section. Using chart layouts, you can change the chart element and layout. Chart elements are also going to allow you to add, remove, and modify chart objects, and layouts will also allow you to change, modify, and eliminate the look of grid lines as well as axis titles and formatting of your plot area. On chart styles, you have options to change colors and different styles. Finally, you can also modify a chart location as we discussed earlier, which means you can just have it embedded in your original worksheet, or you can make it its own separate worksheet. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move to the Chart Tools Format tab. On the Chart Tools Format tab, you can make some formatting enhancements, such as changing colors in a specific data series or applying a style using Shape Styles Group. You can also use the Insert Shape section here to add a text annotation, which is just a label you can use to add additional descriptions or shapes, such as arrows or boxes to point out some important information. And that's something you guys will practice in one of your tutorials. If I switch back over to PowerPoint here, you can see this is just an example of a text annotation, and it's just this little arrow that points to a specific data series on the chart. So, as we finish up here, make sure that you remember that you can create multiple charts based on the same data, that the type of chart that you select varies in accordance to what message that you're trying to convey. And by the end of this section, you should know how to appropriately plan a chart, create a chart, move and resize a chart, change a chart design and format a chart, annotate, and draw on a chart. You should also be able to create several different types of charts that are introduced in this chapter.